Sober October, day 14. It's Monday. It's also a bank holiday. Maybe you are off work. Maybe this was a 3-day weekend for you. Maybe yesterday would have typically been Sunday fun day. Maybe today you're like, what do I do with all my free time? Or maybe you're at work or commuting home. Whatever the case, I want to welcome you. I want to remind you you're a free and powerful badass. Don't ever forget that. Today we're talking about something, it hit me like a ton of bricks. 7 a.m. My morning was me waking up without an alarm, seeing the sun, looking at my watch and saying, oh, it's 6:55, it's 7 a.m. It's Monday. I'm going to get out of bed. I'm going to get my dog and we're going to go outside and I'm going to look up at the sun and get the vitamin D, get the sunshine on my skin. I had him outside. I had my bathrobe on. I was kind of groggy, but still alert and finding myself energized for my day and eager to 3-day weekend. I'm here feeling energized and optimistic and ready for whatever the day, whatever doors today is going to open for me. How crazy different is this than my past version of myself? If you're watching this and you are in it in 2 weeks of sober October and you experience that as well, I want to applaud you. If you're watching this and you're still contemplating sobriety and you're just kind of here to pick up gems along the way and hope that you're ready to start soon, I want to give you a pat on the back. And if today did not feel like that, if today felt like what I'm about to describe, know that I'm here for you. Because in that moment when I was standing outside, listening to the birds, looking up at the sun, I could feel in my body how I felt almost every Monday for 15, 16 years, which was barely able to get myself out of bed, barely able to brush my teeth. There towards the end in my drinking, I wouldn't even brush my hair or put on clothes. I would maybe brush my teeth and have come downstairs and laid on the couch and thought about everything that I was supposed to do today, and then just put Netflix on and hid away from the world. And I would have panicked and thought about everything that I did last night and everything that I did yesterday and all weekend long and how I keep putting off my goals. And oh my gosh, the overwhelming anxiety would have been crippling. And if I would have had to gone to work today, that's a whole different story. I would be on the struggle bus. I do not know how I put myself through work for more than a decade, hungover as fuck, having anxiety every single day. Here's the thing. Back then, I thought that I was chronically depressed and chronically anxious. I thought that was just an aspect of my life, a symptom of my life being so hard that I'm depressed, I'm anxious. Maybe it's a factor of my genetics and an imbalance in my brain. And I thought alcohol was this tool that helped me live and cope with the depression, anxiety. It did not click to me that the depression and the anxiety stemmed from the tool I was using to escape it. I was in a perpetual state of hangover anxiety to where nothing felt good. Everything that I experienced, I perceived through a negative lens, through negative shades. It was shaded with my frustration, my anxiety, my depression. So I only saw what was wrong in my life. And then I catastrophized that because I was in a state of depression and anxiety from my alcohol. I would catastrophize to the point that I couldn't take it anymore. Hello, alcohol, let's hang out again. And the cycle keeps going. And I think this is something that I understood on a surface level, conscious, intellectual basis. I read This Naked Mind by Annie Grace. I knew that alcohol affected my dopamine. I knew that it affected my sleep, but I didn't really know that. I knew that it did by the book. I knew that the information out there, the intellectual data pointed that it affects your sleep, it affects your mood. But all that I experienced, because I used it so often and so intensely. All I experienced, all that I could perceive was the way that it was saving me from those pitfalls, the way that it was actually making my life fun and I could get through the day with a drink and oh, here's this event to drink at. So that kind of distracted me from the low pits that it was creating. I thought the low pits were just my life until I stepped away from alcohol long enough, which is sometimes longer than 30 days, until I stepped away from alcohol long enough to see that my mind can actually be up here most of the time. And I'm not bringing it down here. I don't have to live on this roller coaster of emotions. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the science behind what happens when we drink alcohol and what happens physiologically, but also to talk about the experience and the importance of the experience. Because if you are drinking and listening to this, if you're not like, you might be actively drinking right this second, but if you're like not on a sober journey, if maybe you drank this past weekend, you haven't really made a decision, you're still actively drinking, then I know that this information is just like, yeah, I get it, but it doesn't seem important to me. When you experience it, it will be important. There's a difference between things that we know because we've read it, because we've heard people talking about it, because it's in a published article. There's a difference between that intellectual memory and what we experience, which creates new neural pathways. When you experience life without inducing stress and anxiety and depression every weekend, then you say, oh, that was pretty silly. And you start to make better decisions from a different place rather than willpower, rather than saying, I can't drink this weekend because I have a problem. You're like, hey, if I drink this weekend, I'm going to have 3 to 5 days of depression. Is that worth it? Actually, I don't want to do that. Let's do this instead. And it feels very effortless. I actually had a client say that last week. She said, she's tried this Naked Mind program before. I think it's called the alcohol experiment. She's tried all of these different sober systems. And in the coaching experience she's had with me by her side, the learning, the curriculum, the accountability, she's like, this is feeling effortless. And I'm eager to dive in deeper because she's feeling like, wow, I control my life. I don't have to put myself through self-induced sickness every weekend and always be digging myself out of depression and anxiety. If I just focus on other things other than alcohol, then my baseline is way up here. But she knew all of that stuff intellectually. It wasn't until she experienced it that intellectual knowledge dropped down to her subconscious mind. And that's where we make decisions from the emotional standpoint. A lot of times we struggle because we're like, I know what I should be doing, but I'm not doing it. It's because there's an emotional disconnect to what you should be doing. You don't believe in it. You don't believe it works for you. You don't believe that you would get any results. You don't believe that you can do it, that you're capable and able. So those are the emotional resistance poles that keep you from experiencing the things that you're learning about with alcohol. It was so common that I would hear alcohol is linked to 7 different types of cancer. Alcohol causes a dopamine drought the next day after drinking. That's why you're depressed. Alcohol is actually a depressant, not a stimulant. I heard all of these things and I was like, I could rattle them off, but I didn't live by them. There's a difference between knowing something and living by it. And the living by it takes experience so that you have an emotional attachment to that decision. So it wasn't until I was like, wow, all of my depression and my anxiety is literally stemming from alcohol. Because when I remove alcohol, I can actually even look at my traumatic life circumstances through a positive lens. It takes time because I was so conditioned to look at it and see my victimhood, see how the world had smited me, to see how God had acted against me. I was so conditioned to believe that. Once I took alcohol away, I was able to see the worst things in the best light. And that's what helps stress and anxiety and depression dissipate naturally when you can just re-perceive things. When you change the way you're looking at something, what you look at changes. But unfortunately, alcohol causes us to see things through a negative lens for 3 to 5 business days after consumption, and sometimes even longer, depending on how frequently you use, how often, not often because that's frequently, but how intense. So your volume of drinking per setting, also how many years you've been doing it. So everything like that, obviously very important to remember. But I want to talk about what happens in your body so you can really think about this. So a lot of people understand the dopamine effect. We get a big rush of dopamine when alcohol is entering our bloodstream. Oh my gosh, it feels so good. That's the euphoria. That's our fears kind of falling to the wayside, and we just have so much fun. Every little thing feels fun. Every conversation feels stimulating. Everything is just so good. But here's the thing, isn't it funny? Nothing really outside of you changed. You're just feeling more connected to it, feeling more enthusiastic and excited about it, right? That's the effect of alcohol. It's just the dopamine that makes sitting around the same table you were sitting around more stimulating, more exciting, more intoxicating, right? So we've got this big rush of dopamine. Well, to counteract that, your body says, hey, we shouldn't be this high. Oh my gosh, we need to bring you back down. So in comes the cortisol. There's also an effect with dynorphin. If you've read This Naked Mind, a lot of this stuff will seem familiar to you. There's a lot of things that happen with our neurotransmitters and our hormones. Another reason, ladies, why alcohol will affect your mood so much is with your sex hormones. So your estrogen, your progesterone, I believe is how it's pronounced. All of that stuff, it'll mess with your cycle, but it'll also mess with your mental state a little bit differently because of the hormone effect. And we have different kind of hormone things going on inside than men do. Men also have different things going on than we do. So of course, these are both unique situations. But that's the dopamine, cortisol, kind of dynorphin. But what I want to talk about today is GABA. GABA rebound has been really fascinating because all I really heard about first was the dopamine, the dopamine, the dopamine. But GABA helps me really see why alcohol makes us feel good in addition to the dopamine, but then what happens as far as the hangxiety the next day. Of course, it's the cortisol, but here's the thing, GABA, I'm going to hold up this supplement. I'll talk about this in a second, but GABA is a neurotransmitter. Our brain naturally produces this, but when we drink, the reason why we get so relaxed, all of our worries, all of our inhibitions, the things that kind of keep us bottled up throughout the day. Oh, I don't want to say this thing because this person might think ill of me, or I don't want to say this thing because I don't want people to think something about me. Oh, I don't want to cause conflict. I want to fly under the radar. Whatever your inhibitions are, don't be too loud. Don't be too small. Don't be too fat. Don't be too skinny. Whatever your inhibitions are, GABA just has this effect that eases it and calms your mind and hushes the storm of thoughts. This is a natural process. This is something you can do naturally and something your body learns to rebalance and regulate. If you're actively drinking, though, and in between drinking occasions, your GABA is going to be going, woo, just like that dopamine and cortisol. The GABA is going to go up, way up when you're drinking. You're going to have so much GABA. You're going to be so relaxed. And your body says, I'm not meant to be this relaxed. I'm supposed to be at homeostasis. I'm supposed to be right in the middle, nice, even keel, balanced out. And so it releases glutamate. And so the glutamate is pulling you back down, and it actually overcompensates. The next day, you don't have any GABA to calm down and to ease your anxiety. So every molehill feels like a mountain. Everything feels, oh my gosh, this is so hard. When you think about your goals, you think, damn, that sounds difficult. I don't think I can. You don't have the GABA naturally coursing through your brain to calm your fear thoughts because your GABA is completely depleted. So I do recommend, as you're on your alcohol vacation, to get a GABA supplement like this. Do not use this as a way to have drinks and then take this the next day and it'll make you feel better. It actually does not work like that. Will not have the same effect. The best way to cure a hangover, the best way to cure anxiety is to not drink. And I'm not saying you have to never drink, that you have to be 100% sober. I'm not 100% sober. I drink maybe every other month, once a quarter. It's just on special occasions. And here's my thought process: I'm not going to drink if I have anything that will be compromised the following days if I don't feel 100%. So that pretty much just means like vacation. And even now, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to waste vacation days feeling depressed. So my drinking, even my moderation has got more moderate, but from a good place. And I know that can sound scary. Like, if I don't want to drink, what am I doing? Trust me, it's not scary. You're going to get to a place where you're a newer version of yourself and you believe that you can overcome stress and you believe that your life is meaningful and purposeful. And so you're not always running to entertain yourself and escape with alcohol. You're actually choosing life over escaping life. And I know that can sound scary. That can sound scary to even somebody who's 2 weeks in, checking things off on Sober October. That can sound scary to somebody who's just sitting on the sidelines. That one day, you, your whole self as a whole human adult, you could choose to do something different than alcohol. I think our mind gets scared because we don't know what that thing will be. And that's okay. You're going to figure it out along the way. But trust me, you're going to choose that from a positive place and excitement and eagerness. And you're going to look at what's in somebody else's glass and you're going to say, why would I drink that? That's so counterproductive. That's so counterintuitive to my growth, my goals, my life, me being present in this moment right here, right now. Every once in a while, you might say, hey, I really want to have one and celebrate with these friends. But then you're going to experience that anxiety and you're going to do it less and less and less and less because now you know what feeling good feels like and being able to push through stress and anxiety with grace and ease and creativity. You realize you don't want to put yourself back here anymore. And those hormones end up balancing out. I will say your body will really do a lot of great work, especially because you're going to be sleeping better in 30 days, but give it 60 to 90 days. And you'll be like, is this real life? Is this how my body is supposed to feel? Is this how people just feel naturally if they don't poison themselves every weekend or every day? Oh my goodness. You know, it's funny. It's like alcohol. We don't believe it has repercussions except for the migraine or the upset stomach, but it has so many more repercussions. It's so potent. And when you can really get that across your mind, it's okay to moderate, because if you see it as potent, you're going to stop at, I've had a half of a shot before and I'm like, you know what? That's pretty strong. I don't want to feel like crap tomorrow. I'm going to set that back. And it's like, I don't have to be completely sober, but from a positive place, I also know how toxic and how potent alcohol is and how much of an effect one serving can have on my body and my hormones. For me, it's not so much the headache or the stomach ache. I hate the physical aspect of a hangover. But for me, the thing that keeps me in a positive place of discernment to say no, where I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like literally, I don't want that. Like I would rather have this dessert and my high protein meal and get to bed on time. Like that's the things that keep me focused on it. It's like good sleep. In good sleep is when our brain kind of has this regulation and rebalance of our hormones every day. It's when our brain gets cleaned out, all of the congestion from the day. So then I know I'm going to feel better. So it's the sleep and the mental health aspect. Like I could not predict how positive I could be without alcohol because I drank so often. I didn't realize I was always hungover. And I didn't realize that the mental hangover aspect, the anxiety, can last for 3 to 4 days after drinking. I would take one day off, feel slightly better, and then drink again. And so I never broke the cycle. And I guess this is me encouraging you to break the cycle. And if you need help with that, I know that's not something fun to do on your own all the time. That's what Magnify is here for. That's what I'm here for. I'm taking one-on-one clients. I'm taking members to the course and community. That's the first link in the description of this video. Please, please, please check it out. If you're like, hey, I need extra accountability. I'm ready to take the full alcohol vacation. Maybe I've got 2 weeks under my belt and I just need that extra oomph of support, that's what I'm here for. Keep going. You got this. Keep believing in yourself. Keep building that new identity. Keep thinking differently in order to drink differently or never again. Let me know if you guys have any topics you want to talk about this week, next week. Holla at your girl. Leave a comment. Ask a question, email me, DM me on Instagram at Magnify Maggie. Let me know if you want to talk about anything specific. Anything goes. You know, I'm an open book. I will share whatever will help you in your journey right now. I will be happy to take requests. Drop them in the comments section. Thank you so much for joining day 14. We're 2 weeks in. Remember, I'm saying that, but don't really count the days, count the moments, right? So think different, drink different, never again. You know, I'm here for you. Thank you for tuning in. Leave a comment, leave a question for a future stream this month, and we'll talk soon. Bye, babes.